Hi, everybody. Glad to be back. So we are here for Yena Komniam, part 2. And we're just going to continue our conversation about culture and food as cultural representation and specifically celebration, because I know that this is a celebratory week we have going on. So I'm wondering if I want to start the recipe right now for time, or do we want to do the check-in? I think we're going to do things a little out of order today because we want to make sure that this first part of the recipe is cooked all the way through. So before we do our usual check-in and whatnot, we're going to start with cooking. Before we even do that, really quick reminder of our 3 community agreements: saying yes and no. You can participate or not participate. You're not obligated to do anything during this time. Don't yuck my yum. If what we're preparing today does not sound good to you, that's cool. Let us know, but don't be sitting there like, that's nasty. It's fine just to say like, that's not my jam. And health first. So if you have any needs, water, restroom, emergency phone calls, stretching, do what you got to do. So today, what we are going to prepare are sweet potato boats and black eyed pea salads. So the first thing we're going to prepare are the sweet potatoes for the sweet potato boats. And that's what we need to get in the oven now before it starts, so it can cook. So first things first, we're going to take our sweet potato, and this is a typical orange flesh sweet potato that I have here that's already beginning to sprout. And fun fact, if you cut off this portion of the potato where it's sprouting and put that in the soil so that this part sticks up, once they start growing leaves and vines, you pull one of the leaves off the vine, stick the leaf in the ground, and you get a bunch of potatoes. Really easy to regrow potatoes from. Well, you can regrow just about anything from any scrap, but potatoes I think are super, super easy. So for this recipe, instead of a but our typical orange flesh sweet potato, I'm going to introduce us to the Japanese sweet potato. And it's a little different in color. It's more purple than orange, and it has a very creamy flesh to it. So it's going to be really good for what the sweet potato boats are. And we'll put it all together once we get to the end, but we need to get this in the oven now. So first and foremost, what we're going to do, I've preheated my oven to 425. And right now I'm going to cut our Japanese sweet potato. This has already been washed and everything. Cutting off the little ends, although you really don't have to. It's just kind of a habit of mine to cut off the ends. We're going to cut it in half this way. You see the flesh is all purpley. And don't worry about all that white stuff. I don't know. It's just, I forgot what it's called, but it's not a problem. It's just the potato reacting to being cut. Now we're going to do our on-top chop that we learned last time. Grabbing both sides of the sweet potato, knife goes in between that. Back of the knife is the sharpest part. Oh, and that's the boats that we want. We want these little guys that size. Do on this one too. All right, so now that we have our halves, we're going to take a baking tray. Put this right here. And we're going to lightly oil this, just a little bit. And I'm using olive oil today, mostly because I don't have the coconut oil. Remember, I told you guys that coconut oil is better for the higher temperatures. So we're going to do instead is just use olive oil. You want the flesh to get some oil. You also want the oil in the pan. So I put the oil on the pan, and then I just use the potatoes to oil the pan. That way the flesh will be nice and oiled up too. And you want the, you do want to use like good grade oil for anytime you're eating, actually. Oh, okay, that guy is good. All right. We covered it. I'm gonna do a little massage so that the skin also gets some oil, because there's still a little extra oil in this pan. And that, I think, helps the skin get a little crispy if it has oil on it. Okay. And now, like I said, we heated our oven to 425 degrees. This one's bigger. Where's my napkin? And we're gonna put these guys in here. Let me get my backup camera. Hey, there we go, there's stuff. So, 425. And I'm gonna put these guys in the oven so that the fatter pieces are going to be towards the back of the oven, because that's really more where the heat is gonna be. So we're gonna put them in there. Those bigger pieces in the back. Oh, this is a different, this is not my oven, you know. So we're gonna reshape this. And put them long ways, so make sure that the thinner ones are up front and the thicker ones are at the back. Still works the same. We're gonna leave those in there for anywhere from 25 to 45 minutes, depending on how big your potato is. Well, you know, like how husky that guy is. That guy was not so husky, so we're probably gonna leave that in there for closer to 25 minutes. But just to be on the safe side, I wanted to get in there before we started cooking everything else. And I think I talked about this last time, how it's important to know your timing for cooking so that you're not sitting here with your salad done and sitting soggy for hours and hours while you're waiting for your potatoes and everything else to get done. So now that we've gotten that important part out of the way, let's backtrack a little bit and say hello. So I would love it if you guys could, and I'm glad that Melissa mentioned this little contest for you guys about culture and cultural recipes. I hope you take her up on that. And we're going to talk a little bit about some recipe. Well, we're talking a little bit more about some recipes that are special to us. So I'm going to put our check-in questions in the chat. I have 3 as well, like we did last time. Oh, cool. Look at you. See, y'all trying to get that gift card. I can dig it. All right, so here is our first question that I'm going to ask you guys. What is something little that you have recently celebrated? And it could be anything, mundane or tiny. How did you celebrate? So did you, take off the day of school or did you go out with your homies? I don't know what young folks do nowadays. Did you walk around South Street? I don't know. And did you use food to celebrate? So you can answer any, and well, I guess this is a full story. So I guess if you answer the first one, then you can give us a little details about those second 2. While you guys are thinking about that, I can start. I should have thought about that before I opened my mouth. I can't think of something little I celebrated recently. Oh, well, I think I celebrated moving and relocating. That was kind of little, but also not. And how did I celebrate? I took myself out to dinner, just myself. And what did I eat? I think I had oysters and stuffed mushrooms, and it was great. And it was very appropriate for where I was. The oysters were delicious. Okay, cool. Cousin's graduation from Yamina. I hope I'm saying it right. If I'm mispronouncing your name, let it be known. You can put the pronunciation in chat. My cousin's graduation, it was an after party. Thank you. / trunk party. And yes, you guys did use food to celebrate. What kind of food did you guys have at the trunk party? I should have did a trunk party. I never did, but as soon as I got to college, I was like, this would have been so much cheaper if I had just had the darn trunk party. Soul food, of course. Celebrated my daughter finishing her year of virtual college. Hey, we went out for sushi. Nice. I love sushi. Good for her. My friend's /sister's graduation, we went to Fridays. Fridays used to be where we went for everything. I wonder, was that just like a Philly thing? I don't know. Is it a Black thing? I don't know. But all of my friends say the same thing. It's like, oh, yeah, we used to go to Fridays and for your birthday, for graduation, good report cards. Oh, we definitely did that for good report. Right? We did that, right? She's not listening. My sister's here, but she's working. I had a cookout for my graduation. Nice. It is definitely cookout season. Something I celebrated was my cousin's graduation. We had cookout. I had a cookout at my aunt's house, and we did use food, right? And I guess right now it's a lot of graduations because we just came out of graduation season. I do like, Melissa, that you mentioned your daughter finishing virtual college and their first year. And I think there's a lot to celebrate right now, just based on the fact that some of us went through the last year and just were getting hit left and right with any and everything on top of the things that everybody was getting hit with. So definitely worth the celebration. So it seems like we're definitely in the celebratory mood and season, with being cookout season, graduation season. I think Labor Day is coming up. We have Memorial Day, right? Yeah, so Labor Day is coming up, and then back to school, and that's perfect celebration if you're into that. All right, cool. Thank you guys for sharing. If nobody else has anything to share, awesome. We'll move right along. So what we're going to talk about today. Well, we're preparing our sweet potato boats and our black eyed pea salad, yes. So let me tell you a little bit about these sweet potato boats. So last time, our last lesson was inspired by Verda Smart Grosvenor. I shared with you guys a little bit about her. She's from the low country of the Carolinas, South Carolina, I believe, and is a Geechee Gullah woman, which is that culture of Africans that live along that, well, it's called the Geechee Gullah corridor, but live along the coast of the Carolinas and Georgia, and the sea islands that are there. And these folks were able to retain a lot of their African practices and roots, just based on where they were, because they were on these islands, which were a little bit more isolated, and they were very, what's the right word? Not popular is not the right. They're very gifted at growing rice, especially within that region. It was really, really growing. And we can talk about like Carolina rice all day, honestly. Hey, yeah, okay. I'm trying to make it down to Charleston too, actually. So I don't know, maybe we'll run into each other. But yeah, I definitely recommend looking into the Geechee Gullah cultures. A lot of us here up north will find that we do have Southern roots in the Carolinas and Georgia. So you might find out that you are Geechee, and that'd be great. Or you're not Geechee, and that's also great. So we talked about Verda last time. I want to talk about another ancestor of mine that I really love today, Ntozake Shange. So who saw Tyler Perry's, what's the name of that? For colored women, that's what he called it, for colored women, right? The full title is For Colored Women Who Consider Suicide When the Rainbow Isn't Enough. But for colored girl, that's what it is, For Colored Girl. Right, Ayana? She's not listening and not helping me right now. Did anybody see that movie?
Got it.
I did get it. Okay, yes, boom, wow. Okay, Ntozake Shange wrote the original play, and it is like amazing to see on stage. But in addition to being a poet and a novelist, she also wrote a cookbook. And it was similar to Verda, where it was more of a food memoir, where she was taking these memories of her life travels, and very specifically travels within the African diaspora, and the foods that she was eating while she was meeting with all these different people, and some family recipes too. So, ooh, okay, that's good. I'm just checking the potatoes. Nice. Turn those down a little bit. And you got to keep an eye on your food, because every oven is different, every stove is different. So your timing that you have for like your kitchen is not always the same for somebody else's kitchen. So I would say always check in and make sure everything's good. So back to Ntozake Shange. Her cookbook or food memoir was titled, If I Can Cook, You Know God Can. And one of my favorite stories in this book was her talking about this date that she had. It was one of the best first dates she ever had. And this guy, instead of buying popcorn and soda at the movies, brought chilled Coca-Colas and chilled sweet potatoes, just wrapped in foil. And the way he had just done it was he just baked the sweet potatoes and they just chilled them and just ate them straight out the foil, straight out the skin at the movies. And it was a really beautiful memory for her. So the sweet potato boats are inspired by that story. So we took our sweet potatoes, we halved them, and so that the flesh, we put them flesh side down, skin side up on the pan, and that's going to soften them. When we take them out of the oven, we'll be able to mash the flesh and then top it with the tomato parsley salad. And we're going to be, well, this will be hot, but obviously, ideally, you would I usually make them the night before, just make the sweet potatoes, mash them, chill them in the fridge, and then the next morning I dress them with the freshly made tomato parsley salad. So let's go ahead and make that tomato parsley salad. So if you guys can see all of our ingredients here that we're going to be using. Right now we need our grape tomatoes. Yeah, grape tomatoes and our fresh parsley and shallots. So we're going to use these guys again. So, and you're going to be able to receive this recipe, excuse me, from Melissa later on. All right, perfect. Okay, so let's start with the tomatoes first. Actually, I'm going to do those last because tomatoes tend to be kind of juicy and I don't want to juice up my cutting board too much. So we're going to start with our shallot. We're going to keeping our fingers safe, back at knife to sharpest point, cutting off our little stem, cutting off our little root. And then I'm going to make a small light cut, just like a light press onto the shallot. What's right? No, I don't think so. And that is going to help me get through that first level of the skin to peel it off so easily without having to sit here and like, So yes, you just make that little light incision and then everything just peels right off. Come back. All right, and now I want to make these, let's see, they're going on top of the sweet potato. So I'm going to put it standing up on top chop again, boom. 2 flat sides, and we're gonna make these half moons, keeping our fingers tucked, back at a nice sharpest point. Rock that knife back and forth, rock, rock, rock. Remember, our shallots are gonna give us a good oniony flavor, but they are good eaten raw because they're not, well, they're milder. They're not as strong. So now we have these beautiful shallots. Put these in our bowl. Break them up a little bit so that we separate all the pieces. So you're going to get a nice bite of shallot and not a whole of shallot. And you could actually cut these even finer if you want it. It depends on how into onions you are. Personally, I'm really into onions, so I like big chunks of it. Okay. But yes, you could have definitely gone through and made that a little mince with the pop, 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 put it together, pop, 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 pop. Which is actually what we're going to do with our parsley right now. So we're taking our fresh parsley. Whew, that onion is killing me. It might be milder, but it's still an onion and my eyes are watering. So I'm pulling the leaves off of the stem. If I get a little bit of stem in there, that's okay because there's actually a lot of nutrients in the stem. Obviously because, my eyes. The nutrients have to travel up the stem to get to the leaves to start making it all pretty and flowering. So while stem does feel a little, they call it woody in the mouth because it's like a whole thing you have to gnaw on. It is really, really nutritious. All right, so I'm going to show you guys a little hack that I learned for when the onions are getting to you. So I'm going to turn on my cold water. I'm not going to put my eyes under the water, but if you just put it close enough where you get a little bit of mist, that can help to get the onion juice out of your eyes. Okay, and I don't know, it works really well actually. Whew, I was suffering. All right, back to our parsley. And it's just me eating this. Well, my sister might have some. So, and all of this stuff has been washed prior to. I soaked all of our herbs and our vegetables in cold water and put a splash of apple cider vinegar, which is going to help to, like I told you last time, get any grime off. Definitely any dirt that you're going to find. Most of these things are fully organic, so I'm not worried too much about like pesticides or anything being on them. But the apple cider vinegar or baking soda or even salt, just very low salt, sea salt, those are all things that'll help get any kind of wax or buildup or anything off of your produce. So leaves, push into a pile, and I'm just going to kind of pinch them all together a little bit, and then keeping an eye on my fingers and my nails, because I told y'all I lose many a fingernail chopping and not paying attention. Keeping my fingers tucked, making sure that's not going to happen. Keeping that thumb in the back. Make sure, oh, you can't see from here. Keeping the way I usually cut off my nail is by holding stuff like this, where my thumb is out. But if I didn't have a nail, I would lose my thumb. So what you should be doing is tucking your thumb back and not being like me. All right, I'm doing better this time though. And you're just going to keep rocking over these things until they get to the size you want. And again, it depends on how much you like parsley, how much you like whatever. And you can keep chopping them. You can keep going until this is like completely pulverized, almost to a paste. But I'm going to leave it at this because I do like the leaves to be a little, intact. And I'm going to put this right in the bowl with the shallots. Okay. All right. And now we're going to use our tomatoes. What we're going to do with these guys is, okay, cool. Just have to check that oven real quick. What we're going to do with these guys and cut them into forks. Now, I'm going to use a different knife for this one. This is my typical chef's knife. Nice and, well, stabby for things with the stab. A nice little rocking motion for good for most things. But for something like a tomato, where it has a very thick flesh and a lot of juice, or not a thick flesh, but this flesh does protect all this juice inside. If you use a knife that has just this flat edge, then it kind of crushes whatever it goes down into. If you use a knife with teeth, a serrated knife, then it kind of bites into it and you get a lot less juiciness. So if I cut this with the regular John, then you can almost see how it's like just squeezing that tomato. Just squeeze. It's going to put juice everywhere. Serrated, boom. It's like a little bite. Boom. Cutting those into fourths. I'm going to just do a few of those because we do want to keep some for the black eyed pea salad, which also is going to have our grape or cherry tomatoes, whichever you like. So again, in half, turn over, in half again. Or to slow it down, in half, boom, in half, in half. Okay. All right, and this is going to go on top of our sweet potato. So what I'm going to do now is first and foremost, clean off my cutting board. You can't have a dirty cutting board. It's just not conducive to a good kitchen. And you always want to clean as you go. It makes it a lot easier for cleanup later. So I'm just going to put all our food scraps to the side. Perfect. And remember, I told you guys, you can save your food scraps and make veggie broth later. We're not going to do that today, though, because this is not my kitchen. I'm just borrowing it. So now we're going to move on to seasoning this salad. We're going to put a little bit of olive oil, which is really good with fresh herbs and tomatoes, just a little bit, because we don't even have a lot of salad right here. Just want enough to coat everything so that everything can be nice and evenly coated, nice and juicy. And the tomatoes themselves are going to give off a little bit of juice, especially once we add salt to it. Somehow salt breaks down the cellular walls of your plant foods and it brings out the water. So I'm going to season this with just a little bit of salt, just a little bit of salt. this pink salt, a little bit of our peppercorns. And I don't have my fancy mortar and pestle today, so we're just going to use this grinder that also grinds very nicely. I'm going to add a little bit of crushed red pepper to this. I like things spicy. And I always like to add a little bit of paprika. This is hot paprika too, because like I said, I like it a little spicy. And I like to add the dried version of whatever fresh herb I'm using. Sorry, you can't see that. Parsley. And just kind of, for me, it doubles down on the taste and gives it like more depth of flavor. Mixing that up. And already I can kind of see the tomatoes beginning to break down and soften because of the salt. And I'm going to put this off to the side. Okay. Let's see. We're going to check on our sweet potato boats. Let's see. How are they doing? Okay. They're looking good. What you see them? Because they're so thin, it looks like they already might be done or close to. So I'm going to turn off the oven and take them out so that they are, I turned down to 350 at some point just because I was beginning to smell that they were getting close, but also knowing that I was going to be cooking, so I couldn't turn it off right away. What about composting? Yeah, totally. I'm not a composter because I don't have the space to compost and I don't have like neighbors that compost, but composting is basically putting all your food scraps together and then giving them back to the earth so that they can fertilize the soil. You do want to be careful with composting though, because not everything can be composted. And like I said, I'm not an expert in composting. I leave that to my farmer friends and usually wind up texting them when it comes to that question. So now we're going to, let's see, hold on. I'm going to take our potatoes out of here real quick. I need both hands though, so you guys are going to stay over there. Ooh, it's hot. Okay. I don't know if you guys can hear that nice little sizzle, but I'm excited. Now we're going to turn to our black eyed pea salad. That's where the rest of these guys come in. First and foremost, we're going to take our canned black eyed peas. I guess you can use dried black eyed peas. That is a little bit more work on our end because we have to soak the peas overnight so that they are undried and can be cooked. The good thing with canned black eyed peas is that they're cooked already and preserved. So I'm gonna open this. All right, and then we're going to just rinse and drain the beans because in your cans, they put salt to help preserve them and you don't need that much sodium if you're already gonna add salt to your recipe. So I'm just gonna drain these guys in my little strainer. Okay, rinsing them with cold water. We're just gonna keep them moving like around and around. All right, and I wait for the water to start draining a little more clearer than it was before. Boom. All right, now that we have this, we're going to add it to our bowl. Transfer any water. Bow. Black eyed peas, all ready to go. So we're gonna add to the black eyed pea salad. Let me double check my own recipe. Leeks, bell peppers, cherry tomatoes, parsley, jalapeno, and lime. And then we have 2 ingredients that are like extra ingredients we're gonna kind of play around with. So let's go ahead and do our bell peppers first. I like to make sure that I have a good mix of color of bell peppers. Just because the first thing you eat with is your eyes, and it's prettier when there are more colors. I guess this is if I'm not mistaken, you could tell if a bell pepper is male or female by how many feet or knobs it has. I think 4 is female and 3 is a male. but that's just a fun fact. I think I got that right. Put it on its little feet, and we're going to chop just on the other side of the stem so we don't catch too many of the seeds. Now we're going to put it on its flattest side. Do that again. Cut around the stem, flip it, cut around, flip, cut around. And then we're going to cut off the bottom. Boom, done. Yeah. Well, I guess technically veggies have like a sex, because that's like speaking botanically, that's what they would call it. Within the communities of peppers, I don't know, they might have different genders, who knows? But yes, you can definitely tell, like, it's all about reproduction. Like the female pepper is what you want for the seeds. And I think they also have slightly different tastes, but it's not something that I'm most familiar with. It's like something I came across in my research and I was like, oh, that's cool. But I think I'm gonna look more into it. So we're going to chop up our peppers. I just gave them nice little thin slices. Some people like chunks. I prefer like the crisp of the crisp from the long slices. So I'm just gonna kind of try to get them all the same size. Again, we're tucking our thumb, tucking our fingertips, using the back of the knife. Get them over there. And it's okay if you have some seeds in here. Seeds are really good for you. They have the full potential of the plant. So they have tons of nutrients and vitamins and minerals that you want. Oop, watch yourself. All right, I'm gonna save the rest of this pepper. I don't think I need that much. And then we're gonna use the yellow one, our yellow guy. And I don't need too much of him either. So actually I'm just gonna cut that part off. And then again, get those nice slices. So this knife could probably use a sharpening soon. If it's not giving you that like clean, then your knife needs to be sharpened. It's pretty good, but might need to be sharpened soon. All right, now we got our our pepper medley going on. That guy's kind of big. Remember, we want them to be somewhat evenly sized so that you are getting a nice even bite across the entire dish. Oh, that will drop. All right, now we're gonna add our leeks. A leek is another part of the onion family. So you can, it depends on what you're kind of looking for taste-wise or aesthetically. I'm gonna use the tops of the leeks because I personally like the little flat leaf as opposed to, this is good too, but I think for this recipe, I want to pop with the green first of all, and I do want that oniony bite. So I'm gonna kind of just chop off the first little bits because they've been bumping around the cart in the supermarket in my bag. I'm going to keep it completely together. I'm not even going to bother peeling it because I've already soaked it so that all the water can get in here. Not only did I soak it, but I also made sure to spray the water inside. Anything with all these leaves, you want to make sure you get all that grit out of there. You do not want soil in your food. Although if it's good gray soil, it's not going to be anything but good for you, but nobody likes that. Or I'm sorry, let me not yuck your yum. If you do you? Because there are some cultures that do consume clays and soils. I want to get this nice and thin, and I think that's enough. I want those little. All right. Actually, I might add a little bit more to that because this is looking a little more yellow and orange than I want. I want to make sure that green is popping, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second. All right. All right, got all our leeks in there. Getting our nice little colors together. All right. This leaf looks a little too big, so I'm gonna. And you do want to think about who you're serving. So I might be sharing this, like I said, with my sister later. So I have to keep in mind that she's not as big into onions as I am. All right, now we've had our leeks, we're gonna add our jalapeno. This is another thing where it's gonna be up to you, right? Not on top chop again. Not everybody is a fan of the seeds of the jalapeno. This is where all this whiteness and those seeds, that's where it's hot. The green, that's where it's a lot less hot, a lot milder. Personally, I come from a spicy family, so I cut up the entire thing, seeds and all. But if I wasn't into that, then I just pick them out. And it's really easy. Just scoop them out with a spoon or your fingers. Boop, 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 boop. And then you can save the seeds actually and plant them for your own jalapenos. But like I said, I'm a fan, so I'm about to eat these suckers with the seeds in. I cut them long ways in half, long ways again. So now we have these 4 kind of quadrants, and then put them all together.
Chef Kalia, is a pepper a fruit because it has seeds?
Yes, a pepper is definitely a fruit because it has seeds.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, if it has seeds, that's the fruit of the plant.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what it means when we talk botanically. That's what the fruit is: root,
Okay.
stem, leaves, and then the actual fruit.
Okay.
But you know, we tend to cook them and eat them savory, and that's what determines vegetables for us.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's always a good question.
And I didn't know you could eat the seeds. I didn't think about that. I've always been taught to throw out the seeds, and now I'm mad because I could have been planting all those seeds.
Listen, you can. I mean, if and you know what? I'm not a farmer. I'm a baby grower, but a lot of the growing I've done has been from food scraps. It's been from the seeds and scraps I've collected in the kitchen. So,
Nice.
I mean, there is an art to everything, right? And knowing the right way to do things. But it is not so hard to grow that you can't figure it out with almost nothing.
Yes.
So, cleaning our cutting board again. Oh, jalapeno juices off, all the seeds off. Okay. And now we're going to wait for that siren to go away. We're going to add our last few ingredients. So these. Oh, and they're right. These are microgreens. This is a micro radish mix, actually. And I got these because we worked with the radishes before. They're already been cleaned and everything, so I don't need to clean them. And basically, microgreens are just the smaller part of the plant. So this is what the radishes look like, but when they start becoming sprouts, when they just sprout. The same way that a child has like all the potential of like goodness and humanity, that's the same way that plants have all the potential of like goodness and nutrients when they're in this baby form. So it can be really beneficial to eat microgreens or baby greens because they have all this like different kind of nutritional value. Obviously grown up fully, we get the radish, which gives us different nutrients and vitamins, but these things are like superfoods, if you want to go with that word.
That's what we have in our grow bag now.
Oh, perfect.
Are coming up, but I'm going to wait until they become radishes because I want to see them as full radishes.
So and
the greens and this is healthy.
Mm-hmm. And you can grow microgreens really easily nowadays. They like sell kits. You can grow them on the windowsill. I grew them with like a class of high schoolers a few years ago. They didn't grow very well, but the class was not watering them when I was on vacation. So, but they're supposed to be really, really easy too. We got that. So we have all of our veggies in this guy. Now we're going to start spicing it up. So we want to make sure that we get a nice balance of flavor and texture and color. We got a good, tomatoes. I was like, there's something missing. We got a good amount of color, and I'm going to add the tomatoes whole here. You can quarter them. Actually, you know what? I am going to quarter them because they don't look as cute when they're whole. Like I said, we eat it with our eyes first. So we want to make sure that it looks pretty. Let's get our serrated knife back. And let's switch it up this time. Instead of cutting them in quarters, let's get a little tomato slicing going on. Get these little tomato rounds. And that's also going to add a difference in shape and texture for eating this meal together, because the black eyed peas are really good with the sweet potatoes. But they already have the tomatoes and parsley, right? So we want to kind of switch it up. Oh, and that looks pretty. Okay, nice, nice, nice. All right, let me show you guys. So now we got different colors going on. Now we got a better full array of color. I'm gonna do 2 more of these just really quick. Nope, not tucking my fingers. That's how you lose a nail. Boom. That guy was a little juicy. All right, so now we have this beautiful array of colors in our salad. Now it's time to dress it up. So again, this is not going to need tons and tons of oil or anything because the tomatoes are already in there giving it some juice. But we are going to put a smidgen of olive oil, a little drizzling. Mix that up. It's going to give us a nice healthy fat. That's what our oils are for. And we do need fat to, I mean, honestly, do everything. It's a very, very important component for the healthy human body to have healthy fats. Okay, and now we're going to add a little bit of honey. And this is going to, we're going to try to get as many flavor profiles as possible. We have this like savory earthiness going on with the vegetables, and especially the microgreens are going to add a little bit of spiciness. So I'm going to combat any of that spicy or bitterness with a little bit of honey, just a little drizzle. And you can also use maple syrup. It depends on what kind of flavor profile you're going for. Okay. And the juices from the tomatoes and the olive oil will help to, you know, make the honey a little more dissolvable and so spread evenly. In addition to our friend, the lime. And remember, I told you last time, if you roll your citrus, you'll get the juices ready to pop to the surface. Cutting this guy in half. And I'll need this big piece. Here's gonna squeeze the lime on top. And this lime, so it doesn't have those big, ginormous seeds of it's lemon, so we don't have to like catch the seeds. Oh, it smells good. And now it's time for seasonings and herbs. So I'm gonna put in, here's my napkin. Here we are. I'm gonna put in some thyme because you always need some thyme. And just a little bit, not even a lot, just a little bit. Boom. And we're running our fingers down the stem and just pulling the leaves off. And please excuse my very old and tired looking manicure. All right, that guy came off. Stem and all, but that's fine because stem is not going to do anything but give us some more nutrients and hopefully not get in anybody's teeth. All right, we got a little bit of thyme in there, just a little bit. And you can, I mean, it smells really good, y'all. This smells really good. I'm actually kind of impressed. I'm always surprised when the food comes out good. I don't know why. Pink salt, just a little bit. Just a little bit. Black pepper, or yes, these are black peppercorns. There we go. This guy over here. I'm a big fan of pepper, so I like to make sure that it is covered. But it's up to you. Like we talked about before, you season to taste. You cook by your own vibration. I'm going to add paprika too to this. I like adding paprika to anything that has a protein, like the beans, because it gives that meaty flavor. And this is a favorite of mine. This is called garlic and herb. And it has dried garlic, organic sesame seeds, black pepper, lemon peels, and onion and parsley. So whatever, you know, everybody has a good spice mix in their cabinet, you know, some kind of grilling seasoning or, you know, a vegetable seasoning, herbs de Provence or whatever. So it's up to you how you want to spice that joint up. And we already have jalapenos in there, so I'm not going to add any red pepper. And I'm not seasoning this too heavy because I really do want the stars of the dish to be the spiciness of the radish, the juiciness of the tomatoes, and that crisp crunch from the leeks and the peppers. And then of course the black eyed pea, which we talked about being super significant to African Americans. So for good luck and prosperity, we got this guy. Come over here. Now we're going to dress those sweet potato boats. So I'm going to get the sweet potatoes and we'll start that. All right. Hello. All right, so see how they're all soft. turn them over. Oh yes, I like when they get a little char on them on the top, because then when you pop that joint open, that's why I leave them on the pan for a little bit on top of the hot stove so I can get that nice brown char. It's not for everybody. Some people like to have the potato be a little softer than that. So we're gonna take, let's take these two guys. All right. Actually, I'm gonna put them on this pretty plate. And you know what's funny? I'm looking at these now and I'm wondering if they were misnamed at the supermarket, because these are looking like purple sweet potatoes and not Japanese sweet potatoes, which have like a white flesh to them, like a white yellow. But let me tell you, like, this is actually a really good surprise for me, because I didn't, they labeled them as Japanese sweet potatoes, but purple sweet potatoes are like a favorite of mine, mostly because of the purple color. But that rich color lets you know that you're gonna get a lot of good minerals and nutrients for sure. So I'm gonna take our fork. Did not have ready. There we go. Gonna mash this up. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of a breakdown, break through that nice purple flesh. There we go. All right. And now I'm going to top this with our salad. Here, put this off so we can see this gorgeous salad. This tomato parsley salad that we made earlier that has been sitting. So the tomatoes are kind of broken down. It's gotten a little juicier. Gonna put a little bit of that on top of this. And this actually is a good recipe for that vegan aioli we did last week with the dill and the herbs and everything. That's actually where I first developed that aioli recipe, was for these sweet potato boats. But because it's coming with the black eyed pea salad, I kind of like to keep them just like this. No creaminess to it in our salad. All right. Make sure we're getting enough color in there. And you can also you can actually use this salad to top your sweet potato. We could have just skipped that part and just put black eyed pea salad on top of it, and that would have been just as delicious. Make sure we're getting a good amount of color in there. And I like to garnish, because again, we eat with our eyes first. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of, and you don't have to eat that, but just to make it a little bit more pretty. All right, there we go. Fancy, fancy. And you can chill sweet potatoes and save them for later. This can be eaten cold too. And that's super easy, simple, and sweet. Yes, you can eat seeds. Yes. Just kept thinking about the chat.
No problem. That looks amazing.
Good. Yeah, I think I'm gonna enjoy it. Really, the purple like really surprised me. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'll make sure everybody gets the recipe. So you can go out, and the nice thing about getting the gift cards as opposed to me buying it, now you can go out and get whatever kind of sweet potato that you can find, whatever kind of sweet potato that you like, and you can make the black-eyed peas the way you like to make them, prepare them the way you want to, the way you know how to. But I will send you the recipe in case you've never done any of this. You'll have a guide, so you'll know how to do it. Thank you, Chef Kalia.
Thank you.